All right, here we go again. Welcome back, everybody, or welcome for the first time to the Second and Long Football Podcast. My name is Gabe, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host Joe. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
How are we doing, everybody? Hope everyone had a good week.
Another crazy NFL week. It just does not stop, does it?
I am still tired. Nothing has changed.
I was expecting maybe, first week of free agency, free agency's kind of dying down a little bit. I was kind of hoping, all right, we'll have a little bit of some time just to really dive into some of the other stuff more deeply. But no, there's no time for any deep diving because everything is new and fresh. And oh my gosh, it just,
Every football content creator currently is at their limit, trying to make sense out of it.
Yeah, it's both great because more content, love to talk about football, but at the same time, man, it's
drowning.
It's a lot because there's so much to talk about. You kind of forget to talk about one thing that you want to, and then afterwards you're like, God, man, I really should have brought up blah blah blah, but you just really can't keep up. But we're out here, we're doing our best, and we got a lot to talk about obviously today.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's just start so we can catch up.
All right. So obviously, I think we got to start with the Miami Dolphins and the fact that not only did they trade for Tyreek Hill, which people are obviously talking a lot about because that's a big deal, but we also got to mention that they did sign Teron Armstead as well, which kind of threw me off guard, to be honest.
Honestly, I'm really happy that they did it. They've been having a great offseason so far.
Oh, yeah, they really have.
Like,
they
just
signed
overall.
A lot of players. Yeah, a lot of players. They got Chase Edmonds. They got, oh, man, help me out. Who's the other running back that they got? Oh, of course, Raheem Mostert.
Mostert, yeah.
Of course, coming over from the Niners. And
yeah,
now they signed Teron Armstead, which I'm surprised because I thought Teron Armstead might want to go to the Chargers, the Bengals team more apt to winning, but clearly either he sees the Dolphins as a contender or he just wants to get paid. So either
I don't know. Well, I guess they do now. I guess if you didn't think of the Dolphins as a contender before, now that Tyreek's there, he at least puts them in the conversation. He doesn't, I don't know. I still see this as a wild card team right now because obviously we haven't seen them play. We only know where they've been. But I don't know. Tyreek could make the difference. But we also can't forget that they also, along with Teron Armstead, signed Connor Williams.
That's right.
Off that elite Cowboys offensive line.
That is right. So they are doing everything they can to help out Tua. Honestly, at this point, there are no more excuses for Tua. I think he kind of has to succeed, and if he doesn't, that might be one of the biggest letdowns that we've seen in recent memory.
Yeah. And the Dolphins know that too, because they also brought in quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. So
that's right.
if Tua can't get it done, then I honestly think this is, Teddy has had he's had one of the hardest careers of recent memory. Can't stay on the field. He's had a lot of injury problems. He's been bridging for teams. He goes on to teams knowing that he's there going to be replaced.
Yeah,
and
that's
I feel
absolutely right.
Right. And I feel like if Tua just shits the bed on his first 2 or 3 games, I think, if I'm the Dolphins head coach, I'm thinking, this is a team ready to win. This is a team that can put up a bunch of points. Why do I have this guy in here?
Oh yeah, it's gotta frustrate too a little bit. And yeah, and to add on to the Teddy Bridgewater, you do gotta feel for the guy. He gets drafted by the Vikings to be the franchise, doesn't really work out, has some injury problems. Signs with the Jets, then immediately gets traded to the Saints. So if you're Teddy at that point, you're thinking, okay, I'm on the Saints. They traded a 3rd-round pick to get me. They must want me here. And it was looking like he might be the heir apparent to Drew Brees. That doesn't work out. He goes signs a big deal with the Panthers. So then, again, he might think, okay, maybe I'll be the solution, finally, a team putting their faith in me. Then next year gets traded to the Broncos. And then now finally gets signed to the Dolphins. And I think he knows that he's going to start as the backup, but I mean, you gotta think he went to the Dolphins as to maybe try to push for the starting job down there.
Right, and I have a segment planned in mind that I think Teddy might get that chance
You think so?
because uh I'll be doing my own dive into Tua here, hopefully in the coming weeks, and I think I could prove that the Dolphins really aren't that big of a fan of him. And I mean, can they blame him? Can they not? He won a bunch of games last year right at the end, but they couldn't make the playoffs because he didn't start the season well.
Mm.
So do you really want a guy that needs to be ramped up to be able to win consecutive games, or do you want a guy like Teddy that can just like he's not as hot and cold?
Yeah, exactly. Teddy definitely would be the safer option for the Miami Dolphins. But I mean, yeah, look, they are definitely investing into it because the reason why Brian Flores got fired in the first place, it seemed, is because there's a lot of reports is that Brian Flores did not want to work with Tua, but the owner, and I believe it's a GM, I'm pretty sure it's definitely the owner, was looking to rebuild around Tua. And so Brian Flores was not looking to do that, so they let him go. And then again, at the same time too, they did bring in an offensive line in Mike McDaniel to help build up Tua, and put a good offensive system around him for his success.
Yeah, and man, I've heard so much stuff on Instagram and Twitter that Tua can't throw deep. And does that have some merit? A little bit. Like I get where the criticism comes from, but this is the NFL. Most of these quarterbacks can throw 40 plus yards pinpoint.
Yeah, I mean Tua, it's not like he's gonna have to go out there and throw a 70-yard ball every 2 plays. Like I
Yeah.
think he'll be maybe not just fine, but he'll definitely be able to hit Jalen Waddle and Terry Kill deep every now and then. Maybe
Yeah.
obviously not quite like Patrick Mahomes did it with Terry Kill, but I don't think Terry Kill is gonna be upset with his lack of deep targets.
I highly doubt that. And I mean, didn't Geno Smith throw like a 50 or 60-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf?
Yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, any one of these quarterbacks that have a quote weaker arm can still throw the ball far enough.
Right. Well, they said that about Brady too. Remember when Brady went to Tampa? They're like, "Oh, like all these bigger targets, he can't hit them downfield. He's old."
And
No.
that
That
is
just turned out to be in every way imaginable. It turned out to be wrong.
that's right. Because his apparent last touchdown throw had 50. It was like 51 air yards or something like that. So definitely was more than capable.
On Jalen Ramsey's head. I really enjoyed that.
That was quite nice. As a Seahawks fan, watching Jalen Ramsey get toasted like that, and honestly, as a Mike Evans fan too, I've
Oh,
loved
yeah.
him since he
Oh,
came
yeah.
out of A&M.
Yeah, well, apparently also just slightly add on to that. Apparently something came out within the past hour from Bucks GM Jason Litch, saying that leashed. What?
I think something like that.
Take your pick. Whatever region of the world you're from, it's different. It's different. But he apparently said that Tom Brady could play beyond the 2022 season.
Ugh, so obnoxious.
Yeah, it's like, why? He's gonna be 45 next year. If he plays beyond, that goes on 46, 47. God.
I mean,
How
he
does he
probably
do it?
could.
There's got to be something to that.
God.
Yeah, TB12 method. There's got to be something to that pliability. I got his book. I have the TB12 method back home. I might have to crack that thing open and find out how I can play football until I'm 90.
You gotta figure out his secrets,
There's got to be something to it. There has to be.
You would think, but because it is just absolutely insane, and he's coming back, and he's honestly, as much as I hate to say it, he's gonna play just fine. I think.
Oh, he's gonna be He's gonna play another top 5 season again. He's gonna. I don't think he can help himself, honestly.
But speaking of older quarterbacks, let's jump into the Matt Ryan trade.
All right. Ooh. Nice little pivot there. Nice little switch.
Matty Ice.
I like it. Oh, Lord. Okay.
But yes, for those of you that don't know, Matt Ryan was dealt from the Atlanta Falcons to the Indianapolis Colts. I believe, was it just one third rounder, or was it a pair of third rounders?
I want to say it was just one, which
okay.
I agree with that that value.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's definitely worth throwing a third rounder there, because obviously the Falcons are looking to rebuild, it seems. So it's definitely a good trade for both sides, I'd say.
Right, and I mean, anytime you're trading, your draft picks, you have to take into consideration of, am I going to get someone back that's as valuable as the player that I'm sending away? So for the Falcons, sending Matt Ryan away for a third round pick, will that third round pick replace the value, or at very least, replace something from the loss of Matt Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's gotta. I mean, honestly, the Falcons are not in any position to win now or within the next couple years. So, Matt Ryan is likely on the decline. I mean, he did still have a good season last year, but it's really hard to predict. Any quarterback will have as much success as Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady that late in their careers. I mean, we saw Peyton Manning, Big Ben, even Drew Brees try to play that late, and it just didn't quite work out. But I think Matt Ryan, I think he's 37 right now, I'm pretty sure. And
yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, so not great, but like I said, he still did have some good tape last year, thrown to mostly Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage, it seems. So it is possible that with a better offensive line and just a better system and a team that's ready to win, I think we could see maybe not quite rejuvenated Matt Ryan, but definitely still a serviceable Matt Ryan.
And serviceable is, yes, he's just serviceable though. I don't think he is the guy that's gonna take him even into the playoffs in my mind. The Falcons weren't a bad team last year. They had a lot of good pieces. Russell Gage was starting to come out of his shell a bit more, and Kyle Pitts obviously started to turn a little bit more towards the end of the season. He didn't have a fantastic start, but didn't catch a lot of touchdowns. But that's value that the way you value that. But
I mean, that could also be a little bit Matt Ryan's fault too, if he's just not looking at Kyle Pitts in the end zone.
Exactly. So that has to be taken into account. And now in Indianapolis, he has even less targets. Than he did in Atlanta. He got a massive downgrade at tight end, especially. I want to say they have who is Jack Doyle still there?
Mo Alley Cox would be the starter.
Mo Alley Cox, yeah. That ain't no Kyle Pitts.
I think
that is not Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, it is tough, but I mean, I personally do like Mo Alley Cox. Guy that came out playing basketball, clearly worked hard to get into the NFL. But yeah, definitely ain't no Kyle Pitts, that's for damn sure. But honestly, there are still a lot of good receivers still on the market, a little bit older. Obviously there's Odell, Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones would be an interesting piece if he wants to go back and play with his old quarterback. So there definitely
that could be
options.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
I do like that.
Options for the Colts to upgrade their wide receiver room and the targets for Matt Ryan.
But I mean, he could have stayed this year and, thrown a bunch of passes to Calvin Oh, wait. Oh, where's the Price is Right fail horn when you need it? Boom, 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 boom.
That is tough. Yeah.
That's tragic.
Honestly, yeah, the Falcons, they got to figure out their wide receiver room themselves. Like, God.
What wide receiver room?
They have Kyle Pitts, and honestly, Cordero Patterson out of the backfield is probably one of their best options.
They're standing by themselves in the wide receiver room. Yeah, it
is rough.
Oh, Lord.
It will be rough for the new quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, Marcus Mariota, who we also should get into as well, because that is an interesting signing, I'd say.
I really like it. The Raiders did Marcus Mariota no justice, especially in this past year. His stats do not speak to his quality from this past year.
I mean, he had a whopping 4 yards passing in 2021. So
right. Well,
yeah.
I also did watch a good amount of Raiders games this year. Two of them being we don't talk about the last one, but we I watched a little bit of them, and my assessment from last year was the Raiders didn't know what they had. Anytime Marcus Mariota was on the field, the defense would just start stacking the box, which means bringing everyone closer to the line of scrimmage, and they knew he wasn't putting the ball in the air.
Yeah,
I
so
knew
obvious.
they weren't putting the ball in the air. The fans, the 10-year-old that was there to watch Derek Carr is like, oh god, Marcus Mariota is about to get destroyed in the backfield, and that happened. Like most times he was out there, or he got 2 or 3 yards, or he might have thrown a slant once or twice, and that was about it. He didn't really get any true chances.
Yeah, it was an interesting way that they used him, but regardless of the weird way that they used him, I think it was good for Mariota to sit for a couple years and really kind of digest like what happened in Tennessee and how he can now pivot that, take time off, really study the game, work on his mechanics and really come back and, try to make new career for himself, down south now in Atlanta. I think it's going to be very interesting working. And the thing is that I like the most is that he's working now with his former offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, down in Atlanta. So that's got to show something.
Right.
Arthur Smith wanted to bring him in, has confidence, had enough confidence to trade away Matt Ryan and replace him with Marcus Mariota.
I know. Yeah, it should pan out, especially there was one game 2 years ago at the end of the 2020 season where Marcus Mariota suited up against the LA Chargers because Derek Carr went down with an injury, because he's Derek Carr, and Derek Carr goes down with injuries. So
every now and then.
that's just what you get when you have Derek Carr is, randomly he'll just fall down, and that's it. So Mariota goes in, fills for him. He doesn't know he's going to be playing in that game. He thinks, most backups in the NFL sort of, they have their feet up a little bit. They don't think it's coming, especially if you're sitting behind someone like Derek Carr. Maybe, if you're Bridgewater in Miami, you're a little bit more attentive. You're watching Tua, you're waiting for your shot. But when you're sitting behind Derek Carr, who's a top 15, you're like, oh yeah, it's not happening. I'll just wait for my 1 or 2 plays of read options, and then I'll go home with my $1 million and be totally fine. That didn't happen. He got hurt, and coming off the bench, unprepared, he puts up 17 of 28 passing for 226 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 pick.
Do you know what his rushing numbers were in that game?
I do know what his rushing numbers were in that game because I watched him run all over the freaking Chargers, being 9 rushes, 88 yards. He led the Raiders in rushing, and that got accompanied with another touchdown.
Okay, so he did have 2 total touchdowns to his name.
And 1 turnover, it appears.
1 turnover. Yes, 1 pick, so no fumbles. That's good. Wow, almost 10 yards of carry from Mariota. That is pretty good numbers there.
And I believe, if I remember right, Josh Jacobs, their starting running back, 72 yards about.
72. Okay, yeah. So definitely, leading rusher, not by a crazy amount, but still, that is still an impressive feat when you're the quarterback and you're still leading your team in rushing.
I was gonna say, the point of that stat being, Marcus Mariota ran 4 more than Josh Jacobs did on more attempts.
Oh yeah.
So,
but I remember that game too, and he was looking pretty sharp too. I remember he had a couple really nice looking throws.
Oh god, the entire time I was just thinking, why? Why are we letting Marcus Mariota run all over us? Oh god, he's rolling out again. Is no one gonna... obviously that's, as a biased fan, just totally hating on him. But after, being able to, I've had 2 years to digest it. can step back and actually say, like, he played a really good game. And he showed how far he had come in just one season in Vegas. And he sat for another year, and he's had more time to get better, more time to shore up his passing. I think the Falcons might have got a steal here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, it's a pretty low risk deal too. I believe it was 2 years, 18.75 around that. So
something around there. They're not giving him a lot.
Yeah, and you're not committing long term either. So if you also want to, you can also draft a quarterback and have him sit behind Mariota for a year or two as well. That's an option to do, which would also not be a bad option because I believe they have the 8th overall pick. So if they want to take Malik Willis ahead of the Seahawks, they have that opportunity.
Right. And Mariota knows that he's not the franchise guy. He has to know that.
He has to know that, but I think he knows that he has the opportunity to prove that because, he was the number 2 overall pick for a reason back in 2015. He's got the legs and a decent enough arm. I mean, obviously nothing crazy, but definitely not a weak arm, I'd say. And so I think he kind of knows that his one downside was his mental game. Let's see. If you look at his last season, they started. Let's see. It looks like he started all games in 2017. He had 13 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, and it's weird because the year before he had 26-9. So he's shown that he has the ability to throw for a lot and to throw less picks. But his most recent tape, he has shown to throw a lot of picks. So I think. And like I was saying, I think he took that time in Vegas to kind of clean up his game, really digest what happened back in those 5 years in Tennessee. And really, I think he'll come out and kind of like we saw with Jameis last year. Jameis came out and he just looked a lot sharper. He was forcing the ball less into double coverage and he was making less mistakes in New Orleans. And I think it was smart for New Orleans to bring him back, just like how it's smart, I think, for Atlanta to bring in Marcus Mariota.
Right. And were they the same draft class?
Yeah, they were. Jameis
Winston
was
and Mariota? Yeah.
Jameis was 1 and Mariota was 2 in 2015.
Okay, I didn't know if they were the same same draft as Wentz.
No, that was year after. That was then 2016 was like Goff and Wentz back to back.
Goff, okay, yeah, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. Floating brain, doing whatever it wants.
So okay. I think it's just a good signing overall, and I'm honestly excited. I mean, you have an interesting backfield now with Cordell Patterson, who can do a little bit of everything, and Mariota, who can do a little bit of everything. So it's going to be...
I'm especially excited to see what Kyle Pitts is able to do, too, now that he has a quarterback that can extend plays, because, let's be honest, Matt Ryan ain't buying you a couple more seconds by rolling out. That's just not really... the Gen Z term in his bag. That's just not what he's accustomed to doing. So now that he has Mariota, now that Kyle Pitts is like, oh, I got a couple more seconds, I can go upfield, or I can cut in, or just I can shake my guy and make more plays downfield, especially because Kyle Pitts is a guy that can run under it. If you loft one up, he can go get it.
Yeah, and you also got to remember, back when Mariota played in Tennessee, he helped Delaney Walker achieve a couple Pro Bowls down his 2 best year. So Delaney Walker was a Pro Bowler in 2015, 2016, and 2017. All years with Marcus Mariota throwing him the football. So clearly Marcus Mariota likes to have a athletic tight end, and he can utilize him well. So I think Kyle Pitts will be a great fit working with Mariota.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I forgot Delaney Walker existed.
Oh yeah, I mean that was honestly...
right. That's the first time I've heard his name in 5 years since he retired. Like he retired, I'm like, okay, he's gone. He just vanished. He doesn't matter. And yeah, that's right. Delaney Walker he was great when he played.
Exactly, and so clearly Mariota has shown a dependability. And also the thing is too, Mariota did not have great receivers in his time in Tennessee. So, he kind of relied on Delaney Walker, which I think is going to kind of happen in Atlanta now. They do not have great receivers in Atlanta. Hopefully they draft one. And so he's going to have to rely a lot on Kyle Pitts, similar to Delaney Walker. So I think we're going to see a big year from Kyle Pitts thanks to Marcus Mariota.
Right. Or what I'm hoping for is they get down on their hands and knees and they beg Jarvis Landry to forego the Browns and spend at least a year in Atlanta. See what Mariota is truly capable of when he has a human person to throw to.
It would be nice.
Not Russell Gage and company.
I don't even think Russell Gage is there anymore.
Is he not?
Didn't he sign with Tampa, or am I just completely...
I don't know. I'm not keeping track. Dude, there's so much going on. I'm not keeping track of where Russell Gage went.
Yeah, that's good point.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, he does play for the
go
Bucks
somewhere?
Yeah, he's on the Bucks right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Tom Brady convinced him to come in. Yeah, so they don't even have Russell Gage anymore.
Yeah, they're.
If you thought it was bad before,
their third string abandoned them. Who? Yeah, beg Jarvis Landry, like, get him there for $50 million a year. I don't care what you have to do. Oh wait, you don't have that money because you have $1 billion in dead cap from Matt Ryan.
Yeah, was it like 40 mil dead cap for Matt Ryan? God, they were just
something like that. Yeah,
and
get ready for a tank bowl of the ages.
The funny thing is they're also saving money because I think they're even now saving somehow $9 million by trading away Matt Ryan too. So not only are they taking in that massive dead cap, but also it's a good thing because somehow he was making so much money that taking that $40 million actually benefited the Falcons.
Okay, guys, we have $3 to get a new wide receiver one. Who has any ideas?
Oh my God, it'll be an interesting season for the Atlanta Falcons for sure.
God,
but
if you
look, I'm excited for.
Right, and just one more quick thing on this before we move on. If I watched this, it was about 3.5 hours long. It was a documentary on the Atlanta Falcons out of Secret Base, which you guys listening, go check it out. It is well worth it. You don't even have to be like fully immersed into football to really enjoy the Falcons' history. Man, it is sad. It is so sad. Every great player they've gotten has just turned around and abandoned them completely. Like Deion Sanders, Michael Vick. There are a couple others I can't think of, but they've had good players go in and out, and they just can't hold on to anyone. Been to 2 Super Bowls, lost both tragically. In their first one against the Broncos of John Elway.
Oh God.
They just let the Broncos run away too early, and then it was a shootout in the second half, but they were just down too much, and the Broncos kept up with the shootout, and they just dropped that one, and I don't think I have to talk about the other one.
Yeah, we don't have to mention that. I think
every man, woman, and child knows what happened on that day.
Like, as a Seahawks fan, I know what it's like to have a devastating Super Bowl loss. So you know what? Yeah. I feel for you, Atlanta fans. It's rough, but you know, the team, they're doing what they have to do to try to get back there. And obviously it's not going to be anytime soon, but who knows? In 5 years, Marcus Mariota is the answer, and he's playing like a top 5 quarterback. This will look as one of the best.
Okay, now I'm trying to picture in my head Marcus Mariota in 5 years. If I had to put money on it, like if I had like $20, my guess is he's retired. Either that or he's a third stringer on the Steelers. I don't think he's the answer. That's just me though. Prove me wrong, Marcus. Prove me wrong.
Please do.
I dare you.
It'll be a fun year.
I dare you to have a 35 touchdown season.
But also now, speaking of quarterbacks that nobody wants, let's talk about Baker Mayfield now.
Nice segue.
But I mean, that's what it is. I mean,
speaking of complete and utter losers, let's go on to this next guy.
I mean, it's like Baker came out.
I wish it wasn't true. I wish it wasn't true.
I know. I do like Baker. You got to feel for the guy. He came into the Browns team that was horrible. I'm pretty sure when he came in, that was after they went 0-16.
0-16 it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and he comes in and he turned that franchise around. And now that the franchise has turned around, they're like, okay, we don't need you anymore. Goodbye. Or maybe not goodbye. At least just get replaced. And then so he comes out and he's like, you know what? Right after they trade for Deshaun Watson, he's like, go ahead, send me over to the Colts. And the Colts were like, we'll take 37-year-old Matt Ryan instead, actually.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to take this guy on the absolute last leg of his career before it buckles under him and he retires. So, God, I have so much sympathy for Baker Mayfield right now. I feel so bad for him. It's a tragic thing for them to get Deshaun Watson, honestly. Because actually, here's a funny question. Do you remember where you were when Baker Mayfield got drafted? Where were you?
I do actually. Oh man, that was a long time ago. So I believe.
I know it was. It was.
I believe I was actually back in high school. I was playing a lacrosse game, and because I remember I thought the Browns would take Sam Darnold because I remember Colin Cowherd was hyping up Sam Darnold.
Oh yeah, well yeah, go figure that.
Yeah. And Trunky Kid from California. I remember that's what he would always say. For some reason, Trunky was his favorite word to use with Sam Darnold.
Jesus.
But yeah, and I remember I come off after the game, comes to the sideline, and one of my teammates is like, "The Browns drafted Baker Mayfield." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I was I was like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was a horrible pick. But I was just kind of surprised, because it was...
Oh, no, I was too.
Because I think in a lot of recent years, the number one pick has kind of been already decided. Trevor Lawrence was obvious, Joe Burrow was obvious, Kyler Murray was obvious,
Miles Garrett. Yeah, Miles Garrett is the most recent one where I was like, that's a lock. There's no budging from that.
But that draft was a little more indecisive as to who the number one quarterback would be.
Right. Well, yeah, heck, I even remember Saquon being in the discussion for the number one pick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was take Saquon 1, because I remember the Browns had the first and the fourth pick that year. So some people were saying take Saquon 1 and then draft another QB at 4. I think Colin Cowherd actually at one time said take Sam Darnold at 1 and take Josh Allen at 4 and let them compete. And obviously at the time that was never going to happen. But if you look back at it now, the Browns probably wish that happened. I mean, it is possible that Josh Allen wouldn't have developed the same way in Cleveland as he did in Buffalo, but that would have been quite an interesting scenario if they took 2 quarterbacks top 4.
I also remember Colin Cowherd saying something along the lines of Josh Rosen being one of the better quarterbacks in that draft.
Oh my God, that was the Josh Rosen draft.
Remember Josh Rosen? You remember what happened to him?
Was he actually in Atlanta this past year?
I want to say, yeah, no, because he was a part of the group that came in and 3 different quarterbacks threw a pick in a game.
Yeah, it was
Matt Ryan threw a pick. I think he threw 2 picks, and then they pulled him, and then they put Josh Rosen in, and then he threw a pick, and then they put their third stringer in, and guess what? He lofted it to the opposing corner.
That's right. That was Felipe Franks who came in.
Felipe Franks. My God.
But anyway, back to Baker Mayfield. What do the Browns do with Baker Mayfield is my question.
Well, Seattle is obviously they're still in the running.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're gonna make the move on him. It seems like more and more they're liking Drew Lock, and a little bit I am too. Honestly, I have to admit it. I'm liking him a little bit more.
Yeah, Drew Lock is younger, and I think they're both kind of similar quarterbacks. They both have a strong arm, both mobile. So you already have Drew Lock. So is Baker Mayfield really a huge difference between Drew Lock? I believe Drew Lock is also a year or 2 younger as well. I believe Drew Lock is going to be 25 this next upcoming season. I believe Baker will be 26 or 27. Yeah,
something along those lines. Yeah,
but yeah, Baker Mayfield is actually going to turn 27 in a couple weeks here. So yeah, Drew Lock is a couple years younger, and yeah, I agree. I think Seattle included Drew Lock in that trade for a reason, and we'll get into that trade later as we talk about Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, and the comparison between the trades. But yeah, I agree. I think Drew Lock is more of an answer to the Seahawks right now than Baker Mayfield is. It just would make sense, if you're going to trade a second round pick or whatever for Baker Mayfield. I would think you'd be better off drafting a player at that, because I believe the Seahawks have the 40 and the 41st overall pick. So I think you're much better off drafting a player at that spot rather than trading for Baker Mayfield. Right.
And one of the things that I've been talking to my family about the Drew Lock trade, which is kind of, it's a little surreal for me for them to be talking about a quarterback like Drew Lock. Like, my family's more of the, I know the 10 best players in the league and that's it. And so for them to talk about this like niche player like Drew Lock, it's like they sound deeper into football than they are, but no, they just know Drew Lock. But they did their own digging, and that was because they're Seahawks fans and they're very invested into this team despite recent events. And so what they found was that apparently we all know about Drew Lock's confidence issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently a part of what stemmed from that was the quarterback coach in Denver
really
hated him. Apparently, from one of the articles, he hated him the moment he stepped off the plane. When he arrived in Denver, he was wearing, I believe, a visor and sunglasses, and the head quarterback coach just went, this son of a bitch. And from then on, apparently, they had a very strained relationship. He just did not like a single thing about him. And that showed.
That. Huh. And that's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, so my advice to Seattle, just support the guy. He's a kid. He's young.
Yeah. He's only 25.
Yeah, he's only 25. He's he still has a ways to go in terms of his own maturity. Just be there for him and support him, be patient, and maybe you can get him a little bit more out of his shell, and he'll be able to actually maybe even find some success in Seattle.
No, yeah, I definitely agree that Drew Lock did not really have a fair chance in Denver. I mean, I believe was Drew Lock's first year when Vic Fangio came in.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, but clearly did not have Vic Fangio, defensive coach. So never had an offense coach, and obviously Pete Carroll's also a defensive coach. But they do have Shane Waldron there as well to help out Drew Lock. Shane Waldron worked with Jared Goff, and obviously it was mostly Sean McVay, but he helped Jared Goff have his best years, even though now we've seen what Jared Goff can actually really do. So clearly he's worked with the quarterback before that is just based on physical upside and just making the game easier for him, make it have easier reads. And so I think Drew Lock does have potential to come into Seattle and stay as the starting quarterback week 1. I wouldn't be shocked if Drew Lock was starting quarterback. It's possible that the Seahawks could draft a quarterback at number 9. I mean, there's a lot of buzz now that Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis will go a lot higher than initially thought. So it is possible that the Seahawks might not even get an opportunity to draft a quarterback at number 9.
Yeah.
So I think, but honestly, that might not be a bad thing because Drew Lock does have the physical upside. If he can just get his mental capacity there. I mean, Drew Lock does have a lot of swagger. So if he could just inspire some confidence in him, he will in return have that confidence in himself, I believe. And so I think we're due for an interesting year with Drew Lock. And so circling back, all that talk about Drew Lock basically means I do not think that the Seahawks will be trading for Baker Mayfield. And so honestly, I don't know if anyone will trade for Baker Mayfield at this rate.
Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of the quarterback holes are, for the most part, filled.
Mm-hmm.
A a couple teams just off the top of my head that could make a move. You know, I've heard some buzz around the Panthers possibly making something happen there. I don't think they will.
That was a team that I was thinking of, but I honestly haven't heard like any buzz around the Panthers. Maybe I'm just not reading the right news outlet, but yeah, a couple of the Panthers pages that I follow haven't really said much about Baker Mayfield. And that would be interesting to have Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on the same roster. You know, the top 2 quarterbacks from the 2017 draft class. It would be, or was it 27? Or it might have been 2018. Yeah, it was 2018. My bad. 2018 draft class. So it would be interesting to have them compete. I'm not sure because you know the Sam Darnold experiment didn't work out, so they might not be willing to trade another pick for another experimental quarterback. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's honestly, you're right. Like the Panthers might be the only team. I mean, like the only other team I could possibly think of would be the Giants if they don't have faith in Daniel Jones. But honestly,
well, who did they just bring in?
Tyrod Taylor.
The Giants. Yeah.
So they already have a competition.
Yeah. Okay. Hear me out. All right. I'm listening. I'm going rogue.
Okay.
I'm going rogue. Okay. I'm freelancing here. So, couple weeks from now, Browns are still looking. They can't find a single suitor. They can't find anyone that'll take Baker. And what do they end up doing? Well, we can't keep him here. We have Jacoby Brissett. Like, he's our plan for backing up Watson. And because we're a dumpster fire organization, we're completely backing Watson, even though he still hasn't cleared up all of his legal issues. Even today, something else dropped saying that he has one more to.
God, yeah, still gotta figure that out.
One more to pay off, but that's neither here nor there. So what do you got? You gotta cut him. You have no choice. You have to let him go. You have to let him walk. Hang on.
Okay, I'm hanging.
I'm not done yet. Okay. I'm cooking here.
Okay.
Okay. So they cut him, and Baker's like, God, like, he just feels betrayed. Like, I gave everything to this city, and they just left me in the dust. They just abandoned me for a guy with a billion legal issues that hasn't played professional football in a year.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
So what are you thinking? What are you thinking? When you get cut, when you get just, you get stabbed in the back by an organization you gave everything to, what do you want?
Revenge.
What do you want? You want revenge. You want vengeance. So you take a drive. You get in your, $250,000 car, and you wipe your tears with you wipe them off
with your $100 bills.
Get it together. Yes. with your stack that you keep in the passenger seat. You take a drive. This little city called Pittsburgh.
Ah, there it is.
All right, yeah. You drive over to Pittsburgh. You're like, hey guys, I'm a good quarterback that's not named Mitchell Trubisky. Bing, bang, bong. Baker Mayfield is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he has the best season of his career.
You think? I don't know, man. You think you can outcompete with Mitchell Trubisky?
I think I could outcompete with Mitchell Trubisky.
That is a tall order, my friend.
Yeah. Can he rise to the occasion?
That would be an interesting scenario. And obviously I think Baker Mayfield would be able to outcompete Mitchell Trubisky. Honestly, at that rate, if they signed Baker Mayfield, I could see them cutting Mitchell Trubisky. Probably not, but I mean, at that point, there's no reason keeping him around.
I'm a sucker for a good storyline, so if that were to happen, that would just be picture perfect for me. I would love everything about that.
That would be interesting. Okay, are you ready? Here's a team that is kind of out of the blue that could be interesting. Obviously, I don't think this will happen, but
ears are open.
It would be interesting. I'm thinking, a team also not very far from, well, not close, but not super far from Cleveland, Ohio, that might be in the market for a new quarterback. They have a new head coach this offseason. I'm thinking the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh.
Because Kirk Cousins, let me look up his contract, but he's not going to be around.
1 year, $35 million.
He has 1 year left. Okay, yeah. So he's not looking to be around Minnesota anymore. And even also, too, if Baker Mayfield, they could trade for Baker Mayfield and have him sit for a year, too, behind Kirk Cousins. And
sort of like a Mariota, sort of get your
mind right.
We've been swearing. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
And
I think
figure out what you're gonna be,
or even honestly more like a Jameis Winston type situation where you go there.
Okay.
Jameis was, he went there to sit behind Drew Brees, and he did take over that starting job after Drew Brees left. And so I think the Saints have the Vikings have their new head coach, Kevin O'Connell. And so clearly Kevin O'Connell wasn't the one who brought in Kirk Cousins originally. So he could be looking to work with a new quarterback, one with a lot of physical upside to throw to Justin Jefferson. And like with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, the Vikings have a good surrounding core, kind of a little bit similar. I mean, they both have a good offensive line.
Yeah.
Or obviously the Browns offensive line is a lot better than the Vikings, but the Vikings offensive line is not horrible. They, at least last year, they ran the same system with their running back, the kind of outside zone running game. Both have elite running backs there. And this time now Baker is going to have an elite wide receiver to throw to. Obviously, no offense to Odell, but that didn't work out. But I think Justin Jefferson might be someone who would work out with Baker a little bit better, just a younger receiver, all the talent in the world with Justin Jefferson. So, and they still have Adam Thielen there. It's who knows if he'll be there by the time Baker Mayfield starts, but it's definitely not a situation I see necessarily happening, but a situation that would be good for Baker, I think, and also good for Kevin O'Connell to potentially get a high upside quarterback without having to shell out too much to get him.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I do really like the idea of Baker sitting, though. I like him sitting for a year, marinating, and then coming into that offense. That feels right to me. That feels right.
I don't think you need to get rid of Kirk Cousins this year. You let him play his last year, and then you let him sign with whoever he wants, hopefully get a comp pick if some team decides to overpay him. And, you're looking good. You got Baker Mayfield. You can, then you have a lot of cap clear, not paying Kirk Cousins. So you can bring in some free agents next year, maybe part ways with Adam Thielen and bring in another number 2. It would be an interesting experiment, but one that I think has a lot of reward.
It's still a dark horse trade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, that would be off the wall, just absolute, no one in the NFL is safe. No one is safe. Hell, they might trade for Justin Jefferson for Baker Mayfield. It's not impossible. I don't think anything is impossible. You could do a Mahomes swap. Nothing matters anymore. This is Madden Ultimate Team. Everyone's anywhere.
Exactly. I mean, you never.
Terry Bradshaw's gonna come back. He's gonna throw on a Steelers uniform again and die in the first 3 plays.
Well,
I don't think.
Apparently, he's giving away all his money on these betting sites. Oh, where's his money? So he might need to get reemployed.
Apparently he's flat broke after. Leave Terry's money alone. Let the man retire in peace.
But it would be an interesting trade. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, so I think Baker Mayfield to the Vikings would be a fun fit. I think.
Yeah, I'd like it. I would like it. It'd be fun to watch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take an adjustment period though of seeing him go from brown to purple. Going from the most mundane color in the book to purple.
To nice bright purple.
Yeah, no.
that would be interesting.
I wouldn't mind it.
Sure.
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, I think he'd look good.
Yeah. Also, dang, we've gone for 49 minutes now. I thought there was a chance this was going to be like a half an hour episode.
Oh yeah, I still got one more thing I want to talk about. Is there anything you want to bring up real quick?
No. I mean, on Baker Mayfield, I think I spoke my piece. Okay. So, I am ready to move on to the next.
Yeah, I think we can end the episode with something that I've been wanting to talk about. Wanted to bring this up last episode, but we just ran out of time. I do want to dive into a little bit on the Deshaun Watson trade. without trying to get into all the political stuff, I mean, obviously that's going to get brought up, but
Right.
we're here to talk
wait,
about.
and after this, I do have one
Okay.
small, teeny tiny thing.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, let's get into it.
And the reason why I do want to bring this up is because I want to compare the Deshaun Watson trade to the Russell Wilson trade.
All right.
Because
Lord, let's get into this. Let's look at this.
I'll start off with the details. The Texans received 3 first-round draft picks in 2020, 2023, or 2022, sorry, 2023 and 24, a third-round pick in 23, and a fourth-round pick in 24, in exchange for Deshaun Watson and a 2024 fourth-round draft pick, or fifth round. Jeez, I'm struggling. But those are the details. So, honestly, when I first saw this, I was a little surprised, because I was surprised there were no players dealt in this trade. And personally, I think that the Seahawks got more for Russell Wilson, which was something that surprised me a little bit too.
Well, they did. They got more talent. They got players to fill in now and, help the team win 2 games.
Yeah, and they also got the 9th overall draft pick. And I believe the Browns gave up I think they have the 15th overall pick.
Sounds right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, and that has a lot more. And the thing is, too, with these, ideally, if you're the Browns, the 2023 and the 2024 first-round picks are going to be in the late 20s as well. So
right.
Not, honestly, as far as the draft. And the thing is, too, the Seahawks got two firsts and 2 seconds. And the second this year is the 40th overall pick. So you're looking at it, and also Noah Fant, former first-round pick, Drew Lock, former second-round pick, and then Shelby Harris, who, can't remember when he got drafted, but has been a solid starter for the defensive line. You look at all of that, and really, I can't imagine anyone would think that the Texans got more than the Seahawks did.
No, it'd be hard to imagine, because, like I was saying earlier, draft picks are so, none of them are set in stone with the kind of value that you're going to get in return. Exactly. Whereas you got Drew Lock, Noah Fant, and Shelby Harris, you know exactly what you're getting. You've seen their tape. They've been in the NFL for a couple of years, and you have more to build on there.
Exactly.
So I like it. I honestly, the more I think about this Russell Wilson trade, apparently Russ has wanted out for months too.
Exactly.
Apparently he's been. Yeah, apparently he's been talking to the Broncos for a minute, saying that there was no way he was going to stay in Seattle. So, for a guy like that, yeah, I'm good with Drew Lock, who's I feel going to be loyal to Seattle. Noah Fant as sort of a prototype receiver type tight end. I like him. I love what he's going to do, especially with Will Disley coming in at the tight end too, and Shelby Harris and Uchenna Nwosu as the pass rush combo. This could be a team worth something.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people are looking at the Seahawks as a team that's rebuilding, but I think that if we were rebuilding, why would we include a 30-year-old defensive lineman if we're looking to rebuild? I think this is a team that's looking to retool, honestly. Where the
retool is a better phrase for what the Seahawks are trying to do.
The NFC is a much weaker conference this year. I don't think that's a shock to anybody to hear. And so I think the Seahawks would be smart to try to, see if they can win this year with Drew Lock. Draft, maybe don't draft a quarterback at number 9. Draft someone like a Derek Stingley, or if somehow Kayvon Thibodeau falls to you at number 9. Draft someone that will be an immediate impact to your team and see what you can do. Bring back Dwayne Brown, and try to really take advantage of being in a weaker conference and maybe sneak into the playoffs.
They have a chance. It's not a big chance because it depends on what the 49ers will do with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I mean, man, talk about unwanted with Baker Mayfield. No one's been talking. I haven't heard anything about Jimmy Garoppolo. At least I've seen a couple things on Baker Mayfield, some rumors, a little bit of drama here and there. I haven't heard Garoppolo's name once.
Yeah, that's right. Again, the Colts chose Matt Ryan over Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, wow for that, because I see Garoppolo as just a younger Matt Ryan. So for for them to leave him alone too, it's just confusing what the 49ers plan is. Are they going to run another season of Garoppolo and, let Trey Lance, just the backup that they drafted in the first round last year with the number 3 pick, they're just going to let him sit another year? I feel like after a year of wait, I feel like he'd be, a bit more ready, but I guess they must not think so.
Yeah, I think it is kind of weird that Trey Lance isn't ready for the Niners, because I have heard reports that Jimmy G could potentially be the week 1 starter for the Niners, which would just be kind of very, very surprising to me, because, the Niners traded up for Trey Lance, assuming that he'd be the starter after a year. So
yeah, you would think.
It would be very surprising. But back to the Seahawks and the Browns.
Right.
Yeah, I do think Drew Lock could potentially be the starting quarterback. And like I said, the Browns, I don't know. Obviously, I think I will say this, that I think the Deshaun Watson, the legal issues did kind of hurt his value a little bit. Clearly not that much. 3 first-round picks is a lot. But
along with not having played for a calendar year, that I feel like carries more weight than people are willing to let on.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he'll still be fine. He
odds are.
Yeah, clearly it's not like he was sitting on his couch. I believe he was probably still out there throwing the football around. And like we said with all these other quarterbacks that sat for a year, probably watching film, getting his mind right. If I were him, I would have just focused on football during that time and just let the rest play out.
Hell yeah! What choice does he have?
Yeah. So, but I do remember when the Seahawks trade originally came out for Russell Wilson. A lot of people thought it was a bad trade for the Seahawks. They thought the value was horrible. But now you look at this Deshaun Watson trade. Deshaun Watson's 6-7 years younger than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Put on a lot of good tape. Honestly, I know he sat for this last year, but if you look at Deshaun Watson's last full year and you look at Russell Wilson last year, who missed just 3 games, if you look at those 2 seasons back to next to each other, I think Deshaun Watson has put up better tape than Russell Wilson has. So
right, and I'm sure he'll be fine. It's more just a speculation of, if something does go wrong, then you can look at this, and that can be taken into account as to why he, if he doesn't come out and perform the way he used to in Houston.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, so I don't know. I think that's all I have to say about that. And so, Joe, you wanted to bring up one last thing to end the episode?
One final little thing that I'm honestly I'm excited to talk about this. Rounding back to the Seahawks, I want to talk about who they just recently re-signed. 1 year, I believe $5.5 million. So kind of a bargain deal for running back Rashad Penny.
Oh, so glad that they brought him back.
I know. And honestly, if he can have and I know this is a lot to ask in the current NFL, if he can have a fairly injury-free year, he could turn out to be one of the better backs in the league for a couple reasons, in my mind. So one thing to look at from last year was the crazy stat of his yards per attempt.
Was it 6.7 or something like that?
It was 6.3, which is still ludicrous.
Yes.
Now I have another top backs yards per attempt here at 4.3, so 2 yards less. Who do you think that is?
Was that Jonathan Taylor last year?
That was Derrick Henry.
Oh wow.
In his 8 healthy games, he had 4.3 yards per carry. Whereas in the final stretch, Rashad Penny ended with 6.3, which anything above 5 is amazing
insane
for a running back. To give our listeners a little bit of a frame of reference. Anything above 5 is amazing, and obviously, with Derrick Henry being at 4.3, even that is nothing to scoff at, of course.
Oh yeah, I remember everyone was hyping up Jonathan Taylor as potentially an MVP candidate for his team, but in those last final 6 games, Rashad Penny was the best running back in the league.
He was, and he showed up and he showed out 100%. And I looked at his I looked at a little bit of his tape. I looked at a couple of his highlights, and obviously I watched a little bit of the Seahawks coming up on the end of the season. I would love to do a deeper dive on this to see how accurate my player comp is for Rashad Penny. All right, hear me out. Don't chastise me immediately. Just give me
ready for it.
A second to explain myself. I saw some Le'Veon Bell in Rashad Penny.
Interesting.
So,
yes,
okay,
please explain.
Hear me out. Something that both of these guys have in common, especially in Le'Veon Bell's early career, is their ability to find holes once a play shuts down. Once your first hole isn't there, to find a backup and to make a quick cut and get through it as fast as possible. Along with, after your first cut, having a couple extra moves. There are a good amount of stiff arms, there were some jukes, some, shaking players off of his feet. And on top of that, Rashad Penny, like Le'Veon, can also catch the ball pretty well. And from watching how he cuts, where he looks, how his after the cut moves look, his stiff arms, his smaller jukes. I see a lot of Le'Veon Bell and Rashad Penny. And what did the Steelers have to make Le'Veon Bell so successful for all those years?
That offensive line?
They had an amazing offensive line.
That's right.
So Seattle, they bolstered it a little bit. I'm forgetting what the name of the player they recently got was.
Austin Blythe.
I thought there was one other lineman, like a guard or something.
Not that. I mean, they brought back Phil Haynes, I'm pretty sure, but he's a backup. So no one that they brought in that will start.
Okay, well, I think they need to start working on that. They need to bolster that offensive line. Not as much for Drew Lock as for Rashad Penny, and obviously they still have Chris Carson there, and he's still fantastic. But you might have a hidden gem in Rashad Penny.
Oh, 100%. I mean, obviously, of course, I agree because I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm biased, but
well, yeah.
You look at Rashad Penny and his tape, and he did put up, and it wasn't just like 1 or 2 games. It was 6 consecutive games that he put up a lot of really good numbers, and especially if the Seahawks bring back Dwayne Brown and they find someone to play right tackle. It is very disappointing. The Seahawks tried to bring in Trent Brown, and they actually offered him a contract, but Trent Brown gave the Patriots an opportunity to match it, and the Patriots did. So
I think that might have been what I was thinking about.
Yeah,
with the other offensive linemen,
because they did bring him for a visit, and that would have been a really good signing. But they still got to find someone to play right tackle. But I agree, and I think Austin Blythe is a great addition because Ethan Posick wasn't the best run blocker. He was a okay pass blocker and a pretty bad run blocker. And I think Austin Blythe is a better run blocker than he's pass blocker, and he is just a good run blocker in general. He had a really good season for the Chiefs 2 years ago. I think he got injured this year, and Creed Humphrey came in and kind of stole the show. But Austin Blythe, the last time he started was in 2020. I believe he led up the 3rd least amount of sacks as among centers, and he also played the third most snaps among centers in the NFL. So he played a lot, and he held his ground really well 2 years ago. And he also played with Shane Waldron in the past as well. So Shane Waldron bringing in one of his guys to help out this offensive line and to help out the run game.
Yeah, and Lord knows the Seahawks run game needs help.
Yeah.
And if you told me 2 years ago that the Seahawks run game would be cultivated out of Rashad Penny and Austin Blythe, I would never talk to you again. that would have been raps. Yeah, that would have been raps. Yet, that is the reality we live in, and I have no choice but to accept said reality.
Mm-hmm. And I think also the contract for that Rashad Penny got was good for both sides. He got only 1 year, but I think that's him betting on himself because he signed with 1 year, and if he does play well, like a lot of people are expecting him to, then he'll probably want to get more money, and so hopefully Seahawks will give him that money. But, he's came back. And there have been reports that he came back for less money. There were teams that offered him more money, but he wanted to come back in Seattle because, he got injured a lot, but the Seahawks still believed in him. I mean, obviously they could have just not played him in those last six games because they were like, all right, well, you're on a contract year and you were injured a lot. So, but he has a lot of love for the city of Seattle and the coaching staff in Seattle. And so he came back at a good price, only 1 year, like 5.75. So just a really good deal for both sides. He's not going to break the bank. And if he doesn't play well, we can just let him go. And if he does play well, we can hopefully bring him back on a more long-term deal that will pay him some more money.
Right. Now, I'm not sure when Chris Carson's contract is up, but
this should be the last year for Chris Carson as well. He signed a 2-year last offseason.
Okay, yeah. So if Rashad Penny really, shows up and shows out and is able to sustain what he did at the end of last year, which is asking for a lot, but if it is possible, then you just let Chris Carson walk and he can find himself again somewhere else, because that's the problem with both of these backs are super injury prone, which it's hard not to be in today's NFL.
Yeah, you're taking such a beating all the time.
All the time, yeah. Well, yeah, if you're getting more than 20 carries in a game, you're taking a pounding from some of the strongest men in the world.
Oh yeah, it is not tough, but the thing is too, Rashad Penny, like Chris Carson injuries are more nagging injuries that, like, he's got ankle problems, he's got a couple neck issues, but Rashad Penny just kind of had a couple of more freak injuries. I believe one was just a non-contact. He was just running out of bounds and got injured. So not something that is likely to come back. And I think the reason why the Seahawks drafted him to begin with ahead of someone like Nick Chubb is because in Rashad Penny's college careers, he I don't think missed a single game. I mean, I know he had a reputation for not being injury prone, and Nick Chubb did in college, and so that's why the Seahawks were more apt to take Rashad Penny over him. And so
that was on top. That was on top of also being a returner in college.
That's right. So yeah, exactly. Not only did he run the ball a lot, but he also had opportunity on special teams as well to potentially get injured. But he was a tank in college, and so hopefully we can start seeing that in the NFL this year, and he can finally have a complete season where he can really take over as one of the better backs in the league.
Yeah, man. The Seahawks backfield too has bounced around so much in the past few years. I mean, I don't know if you how well you remember the Thomas Rawls era.
Oh, I love Thomas Rawls back in the day, but yeah, I think he was also a little bit injury prone too, and just kind of had like a couple good games and then kind of just fell off a little bit.
Right. Then it got to Alex Collins, and then we got Chris Carson, and then we got Rashad Penny, and then we got Marshawn Lynch back for a bit, and then it's just in and out and in and out ever since Lynch left in, like, what was that, 2015, 16?
Something like that.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, he left, and man, did he leave a hole.
Yeah, it's been tough to fill, but I think Rashad Penny will be able to fill that void this year if we can just put a decent enough offensive line in front of him. Bring Dwayne Brown back. Potentially, if someone like Charles Cross is at number 9, take him there. So there's a lot of potential for the Seahawks run game this year.
I'd love to see it. The league is better when the Seahawks are running the ball well.
Oh yeah, and Pete Carroll is going to love that too.
Yes, he will.
He does.
Oh yeah, he loves him some run game.
But all right, Joe, you got anything else for us before we head out?
Nope, I feel good. All right,
go ahead and take us away.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week. I'm Joe.
My name is Gabe.
And we will see you guys in the next one.
Take care, everyone.